Hello, hello, hello. This is Brandon V with the How to Fail Forward podcast. I am here today. We'll also go on video. So I'm here today with my buddy Jared Wike from Applied Imaging. What's up, Jared?
Not too much. How you doing?
Thank you. I'm awesome. If I was better, I'd be bragging.
Right.
Thank you for coming and taking the time out of your day to do this with me. So my buddy Jeffrey's here as well. Everybody give some props to Jeffrey. I couldn't do what I'm doing. We couldn't do what we're doing without him. So my intro, we're rolling, guys. Our purpose here essentially is to help see you how to fail forward. We all have the ability to step up and realize it is about failing forward. So really, we want to share the real stories, the struggles, the adapting and overcoming that these everyday people have experienced. So I'm spending some personal time and showcasing their experiences so that one of you out there identifies with them, with their walks, and find an ounce of drive in your fiber to give it another try. So these are local CEOs, presidents, high-producing individuals in business, that seemingly are on top of their game in every way, and I'm sure it's not that case, right? So we're here to expose them, to learn from them, to get to know them, and to aspire to what they've done and bring more awareness to who they are. So I'm really passionate about influencing others to do more, to grind and go get their unfair share if that's what they desire, if it's what they want and what they are willing to go get. You're more powerful than you'll ever realize, and I don't want any of you to have the regret of not having given it a try or playing into others' narratives instead of finding your own when you're 90. Not on my watch, no man left behind. How to Fail Forward is brought to you by the Lucas Howard Group at Keller Williams North. All right, so I wanted to give a little bit of feedback, or a little intro rather, continuing last week's conversation real quick. So first of all, Jim, thank you for coming out and spending time with us. He was awesome.
Good.
It was really nice to get to know him. So we had a good time on vacation together, all of us.
Yeah.
All right, so the continuation to the story last week, I was a little vulnerable last week, so I'm going to share with you. And each week I'll give a little bit about myself and my story so that the whole episode isn't about me. That's not what this is about. So what I shared last week, and I want to give clarity on, is that I had seen the spot where the floor meets the wall meets the commode in a jail cell. Okay, and I'd been there and done that. I wanted to add some clarity there in as much that I was never in trouble for anything aggressive. I was just dumb, all right? I was out of the Marine Corps and I was doing what I wanted when I wanted, and I paid some low prices. So I've since coached 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th in varsity lacrosse. Everybody aware of it. I have awesome relationships with a lot of people.
So you put that on your record?
Oh, yeah, they all know. Everybody knew.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
So 100%. So there's that. And I started to give a little bit of background on my childhood. So I'll just say my parents, like I said last time, went through some things. We didn't have a lot of help.
Sure.
Right? So I had some, like Coach Bill Berge of the Philadelphia Eagles, number 66. He was my high school football coach. His sons Jason, Jake, and Josh were a big part of my life. And he was a big impact on me. So that's where some of my fatherly help came from, and my stepdad. So flash back to childhood, being born almost 2 months early, weighing around a pound, maybe just over a pound. I was in an incubator for 3 to 4 weeks, something like this, back in the 70s. So from that to being hit by cars to just being a dummy, all sorts of things that I've done. I shouldn't have made it out of a lot of places, and I did. So last week I said I'm like a 4 out of my 10 where I'd like to be. So I'm excited about learning a little bit about you and where you are versus where people perceive you to be. So here, I'm going to turn it over to you. That's enough about me. I'd like to know your stories. Like, I'm talking, go back as far as you can remember and talk to these people, let them know where you've been and how that's impacted you, and start early and be raw, be real.
Yeah, I went to a private Christian school, and when I graduated there, I was told that they got to get rid of a whole filing cabinet after I graduated, so I was kind of the same way,
like
detentions and suspensions.
Cool. So going a bit further back though, parents, like when you were born, was it mom and dad? Did you have brothers and sisters?
It was mom and dad. I have 2 sisters, both older, so I was always the baby. And
how old were they when? How old
all
were
2 years apart.
Okay, there we go.
Yep. So growing up, I mean, it was pretty straightforward. I mean, my parents were both
Working?
always around. Both worked.
Okay.
My mom worked nights at a med center. My dad worked during the day.
So what time did mom go to work?
She went to work 3:30
A.M.
p.m.
P.M.
to 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock at night.
Oh, okay. All
Yeah.
right.
And then dad was 8 to 5.
Okay.
So believe it or not, he was in the copier business as well. So he broke off and started his own company when I was younger. So I worked for him right out of, I was 14, 15 when I really started working for him.
For him?
Yeah.
So going back real quick to when he started and was working, do you feel in retrospect that you had, let's say, was your dad around to you? And were there times that you felt he wasn't? I mean, how does that feel to you?
He was definitely present. But as far as time, I mean, it was the company. The company was his baby at the time.
Sure.
And,
And
it was throughout all of life.
How did that make you feel then?
Yeah, well, looking back, when I went to play sports, or I went to, got to the age. I mean, now kids are starting off a lot younger, but I didn't catch a fly ball or swing a bat till I was in 9th grade. So it was rather embarrassing because I had I just had no skill set there because I was never, my dad just didn't spend time with me in those kind of ways.
Okay.
So when he got home, from work, he would do paperwork at night and then watch TV, and then that was it. So my mom was the one that bought me my first baseball glove, and
so she
played an active role.
She didn't make you go buy it?
Correct.
Okay.
Yes. So it was fine. My dad was always from the aspect of, he said to me many times, he said, you'll have to figure your way out through life. I had to figure my way out because he didn't have parents. He was on his own when he was young at an early age. So he just said, you'll have to figure it out. I don't know what to tell you. Okay.
Because that was his experience, right? He
That
had
was his
He had to
experience.
figure it out. He got thrown in the water, learned
Correct.
to swim.
Correct.
Right.
Yep.
Cool. How did he teach you to? Did he teach you to swim?
No.
Okay.
He
threw you in.
Yeah, he threw me in and said, you got to figure it out just like I figured it out. I said, okay.
Absolutely.
So, 9th grade, I was buying my own clothes, and funding that stuff.
How?
Through working. So I worked
14,
at the
15, right.
I worked at the
Dad.
muck fields, because right in Hudsonville here.
Work the muck field. So for any of us that don't know,
Right.
So I'm not from Michigan. What is work the muck fields? Is that a clean job? Is that an easy job?
Yeah, it's a filthy job, and basically 2 different main jobs I had was you'd go out there and you would pull onions. I mean, we have this black, rich soil here. Onions are a big item here. You just go out and just pick onions.
Okay. And we're in Grand Rapids, Michigan, by the way, for
Correct.
those on the other side of the world watching.
And Hudsonville is a salad bowl of Michigan.
The
So,
salad bowl.
Yeah, that's the only thing we're known for.
Is it? Why is that?
Just because all we do is grow, like everywhere you look around, there's muck fields.
Okay.
And onion produce and lettuce, and it's very abundant here.
Cool.
So, and then during the winter, we would work at greenhouses. A lot of greenhouses around here as well. We'd put the little handles and snap them on the baskets. So when you go and pick up a
So you
flower basket,
you could pick it up.
yeah, you snap the little hooks on, hang it up.
Okay, so you're 14, 15. You're doing this how often throughout the week? Like, how much time is going to this?
Yeah, so going with 3. It was probably after school till about 6. So it's probably only 3 hours a day, and then all day Saturday.
Okay, so so there were times on Saturday you were saying no to other things.
Oh, for sure.
So why? What gave you that intuition?
Well, that's a good question. I really didn't have a choice. It was.
It was all avoiding the pain of being.
Yeah, I need a pair of shoes. I need. It was pretty simple. My feet are wet. I need to save up some money and get a pair of shoes. It's that simple.
A necessity.
And not to make it sound like there's a lot of other people that had it worse, right?
Sure,
yeah.
Of course, yeah.
But that went on from when I went to get my first vehicle. So a lot of my friends, again going to private school, their parents bought them vehicles and paid for their insurance. Well, I didn't have that. My dad could have easily done that, but he said it's not happening. So you gotta fund your way. So,
Do you recall any animosities that
Lots.
you had to
Yeah.
him or towards him or anyone else?
very much so. Me and my dad, I was always upset. I was always upset that he wouldn't even give me $20 to do X, or help me out with a vehicle. So I did have to have, he did co-sign for me on my first loan. I bought a minivan. So he actually charged me interest for it.
I was going to ask,
which was fine.
what were the
Yep,
what were the
terms for it.
parameters in terms?
Um,
Sure, if you were late, it was gone, sort of thing.
No, I paid for it. I paid for it directly because I had to build up some credit. So that was the reason why I couldn't get my first loan. So it was just that simple.
Yeah. No,
So I
that's
bought
awesome.
the van for $2,000 and paid my insurance.
And here in Michigan, you guys start early, don't you? Like 15, 16 with car stuff?
16.
Because in Jersey and Philly, where I grew up, we weren't getting our
License. So
our license till we're 17.
license,
Like,
right?
full license
Yeah.
was 17. Like
Full
you're-
was 16.
Yeah, like you're a junior before,
Yep.
right? So
a lot of
that's
sophomores.
wild.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's wild. 15.
But then we had to get around to
15,
practice, so I had to figure that out as
Yeah.
well. And my mom was the one that would she picked up a lot of pieces for me. So,
Moms.
it's the best, right? But and I get it. I mean, as much as I didn't get it then, I can sit here now and say I get it. But back then, I was pissed.
Sure.
Put it bluntly,
Sure.
because how you can't even. I'm your son, for crying out loud. So that developed for a ways. Graduated high school, of course, and it was funny because I ended up being all state in baseball. Like I said, I never swung a bat when I was in 9th grade.
And 4 years later.
And 4 years later, I was all state in baseball.
So let's pause. Do you attribute that? Do you attribute that either yourself to, or have you heard others say about you that you are or were gifted?
I picked it up pretty easily. And I'm
Were
like, how hard
were
can
you
it be to hit
gifted,
a ball
or did you
with
have
that?
to grind and freaking? I mean, were you early and staying late, practicing? What do you attribute that 4 year?
I'd say a little bit of
success
natural
to?
talent, because there's things, there's a million things I'm awful at, but to go and hit a baseball and to catch one, it just came quick. I had a lot of practice doing it, and yes, I would play a lot with my buddies, the times I could, but it just, a lot of it came naturally, and then...
You had to fail at some of it, right? There had to be aspects of it that were frustrating, or
Yeah. I had to go to the outfield, right? Because there was no way I would have the skill set
So here's the question:
to be a shortstop.
right field or left field?
Left. Exactly.
All right.
Exactly. So it was just hitting. I could just hit really, really well.
Okay.
And a lot of times, growing up, I don't know. I just like swinging things, I guess.
All
But I
right.
don't know. That just came natural to me.
Well, let's talk about some things that didn't, right? So let's see. I'd like to know. I'd like to know something that was really embarrassing,
Yeah.
or
Eye-opening?
difficult. Something that really impacted you. And let's go two-part.
Yeah.
One of the most embarrassing things that you had to experience that you're
Right.
willing to admit here.
I'll
right?
admit anything.
And maybe one of your. I'd say if there was a company that you don't want to start, but would love to see started, what is it? So we'll start with the first one.
So, a lot of my friends were going to college, so I felt, I don't know, when my mom would say I was always a follower, not a leader. But, so I'm like, oh, sure, I guess I'll go to college. I had to pay for it, of course.
Did you do that because, was that your seed, or was that something that was pushed on you?
I just felt like it was a natural next step.
You felt like it was. No one in your
Yeah.
world was telling you that's what they wanted you to do
No.
or needed to do. Okay,
Nope.
cool.
Nope. Didn't even know how to apply. I kind of just, went there and showed up and said, yeah, I'd like to apply for school. What do I do?
Why did you think you had to do that?
Like I said, all my friends were going, and it just felt like the next natural step.
There wasn't like a clear vision you had from going
None
from being
whatsoever.
sort of an intentional, time-sensitive minded youth
Nothing.
about the work you were putting in to save. There was no connection to go to school for this.
I just
Okay.
literally thought,
Yeah.
that was naturally the next step.
Right. And that's 100% okay. I mean, how many out of the last 50-year college grads,
Right.
went because that's something
That
was
yeah.
normal, like that was what was
Yeah.
expected, sure.
Correct.
Yeah.
My dad didn't care either way. My mom, said, yeah, you should. When I said, well, are you going to help me out? No. Okay.
Wow.
So
no help with college, no help with a car, no help with college.
No.
And maybe there would have been a chance to, and they just said no.
My dad, I mean, by worldly standards, was totally middle class, and we always had new cars, and I mean, it's not that he couldn't do it. He just chose not to.
Yeah.
So
it's probably tough for you to see why.
Yeah.
So now we had the car experience in school.
Yeah.
Now we're actually dealing with college, and you're a few years
Right.
older.
Right.
Are you having the same response now to the lack of help
Oh,
that you
for
did
sure.
then? And
It's
were you-
compounded, right? I'm just like, why did I even bother asking? I'm like, but college, I mean, what am I supposed to do? I mean, I'm already working full time. Well, then I found out. So Grand Valley, fills the paperwork out, and they're like, yeah, we're not going to take it. Your GPA is like 2.1.
Okay, so
That's not good.
Right. Okay, so your high school GPA,
Yeah.
you're
Yeah.
talking 2.1.
Yeah.
Okay, guys, there's something awesome right there. Did you get D's and F's because you cared about doing something else to make money, and you weren't motivated or?
There's nothing in it for me. If I go and study for 4 hours on a test, like I said, baseball, I felt like swinging a bat came a little bit natural. I'd have to study for hours if I wanted to take a test and actually
So it's not
get
like
above a C.
it's not like you weren't challenged,
Right.
Right?
No, I was no prodigy. that school was too.
Okay.
I was too smart for school. I just didn't see any value in it.
Okay.
That was simple.
You have kids?
3,
How old are they?
11, 7, 5.
Wow.
Yeah.
How are they doing in school?
Heck, not better than I did. I mean, yeah, they're doing very, very well.
Yeah.
I don't push them hard, but I mean, because they're all A's and B's,
Okay.
so there's no C's, but they probably got my wife's genes, I guess. Yeah,
Right.
just had no ambition for school. Just didn't do it for me.
And so you had, failed tests. You had everything that comes with
yeah.
that. You had disappointed parents.
Oh, for sure.
There are probably, just like with anything else, I imagine most parents, and I understand it today, there's a point where we, by way of association, blood,
Yeah.
and what they're doing, we feel like others are judging us.
Totally. My sisters
Right.
were A students, by the way. My 2 older sisters,
Uh-huh.
straight A students.
Okay.
Perfect.
So
Never
there's that.
went to parties, never got in trouble, never they were
got caught.
just,
Never got caught.
I don't think they ever went. They were pretty,
Okay.
they were kind of losers.
So if
at
you
that, but-
know his sisters, and then we want comment. That's good.
Correct.
Yes, come on,
Correct.
bring us some ammo.
Yeah, they were pretty smart, book smart. So yeah, so Grand Valley didn't take me, so I'm like, oh well, why don't I go to community college?
Okay.
So I went down there and did the same thing, and so I paid my first bill for that, and I'm sitting
How
there
much
going,
is this bill? You're how old? 18, 19?
I graduated when I was 17.
So you graduated high school early?
Yeah,
Or
early. I was 17.
You did
Not because
3
I was smart. I was just went in when I was.
gotcha. You're
yeah.
just a young. Oh, okay. You're
Right.
like, wait a minute. You said you weren't a prodigy.
Yeah, I always joke around. I said, people may think I'm the smartest person in the world at sales because they come and ask me, how do you do this? And I'm like, look, I could watch 5 episodes of Jeopardy and get one answer right. Literally, I don't know. I don't know.
So college, you go there. We're getting to embarrassment.
Yeah, so I also moved out at the same time. So I've always wanted a crotch rocket, as we call them, a motorcycle, right? And my dad said, if you get one, then you're out.
Yeah, I knew that was coming.
So yeah, he came home from work, and there it was in the garage, and I had to pack my bags. So
Okay.
yeah, so I moved out when I was 17. It was right after high school. So I lived with a couple of buddies of mine, and we shared a duplex, paying $200 a month. I was working, so I could swing that. And it was motorcycle, chasing around girls, and living by ourselves.
Should you have left that bike at the dealership, or are you glad you did what you did?
That's coming up to my most embarrassing story.
Okay.
That'll answer that one, I think.
Okay.
Yeah, it gets richer. So, yeah, so there it sat, and I felt awesome. I'm like, fine. I guess maybe subtly I'm thinking, I'll show you, you know. Yeah, so I push it, and here I am. But that's fine. I was working, right? I'm paying $200 a month, paying $200 a month for this motorcycle. What more do I need? You know, a couple Jack's frozen pizzas in the freezer. That's all I need. So then college came. So I went for probably about 2 months, and I was sitting there doing a math class, which I had already just been doing awful in. So I'm sitting there, what? I couldn't handle it. I couldn't handle it because I was working. I was going to school 6 to 10, and I just said, this isn't making me money. I want to do something that makes me money. Why do I need a degree to make money?
Okay.
So I stood up. I saw this really hot girl next to me. Gave her all my books, and I said, "Sell them if you want to. I really don't care. I said, but you can have all these books if you want. Want to go on a date with me?" She goes, "No." I said, "Okay, well you can sell my books." So,
nice. Okay.
So I left for my motorcycle, and that was it. Didn't go to college anymore. So, I just worked being a service tech, fixing copy machines.
Okay.
For my dad. His
So
company.
there's okay.
Yeah.
So it was like a walk of shame or a ride of shame, essentially, back to him. You're saying, is that what the embarrassment was, that you had to go back to him and
Mildly, because I was working on and off for him, doing some stuff, mowing the grass out there, and he give me $10 or whatever the case is. So now I was actually going to go full time and work full time for him.
right?
So still separate. There was really no carryover in between. He treated me at work, worse than he did at home, right?
But he wasn't going to show any sign of favoritism.
Zero.
Right? Which is there's gold in that. Like that now.
There is. I know it now, unfortunately. But 18-year-old kid, you're certainly not going to know it then. I'd show up. We had to wear a shirt and tie. Even though, yes, we were turning screwdrivers, so to wear a shirt and tie because we're going to people's offices.
Was he military?
Was in Vietnam, yeah. Yep. But I'd show up if I was a minute late, go home.
It's awesome.
Be like, oh, please.
If
Really?
only more parents were like that today, right, Jeffrey? I'm not kidding.
You're taking his side? Are you taking his side?
Hey, I'll go ahead and say it right here, and I've said it to my wife. May cringe when I say this, and some people may not like
Right.
it. But I agree 100% when I hear people say that kindness is a non-negotiable.
Right.
One of my best friends just retired from the military, Chris
Yeah.
Thomas. Shout out Chris. He's been my best friend since 6 years old.
Nice.
His dad is so Chris and his family. The way his father raised him and the way he raises his children, he will bounce his children off the floor
Right.
in public if they talk back
Right.
or do what he's asking them not to do. And I agree with that.
Right.
My daughter's 3, and
Yep.
since she was 2, it's been yes, sir, yes, ma'am, no, thank you, yes, please.
Right.
Right. So anyway, so the embarrassment.
Great.
Let's make the tie here, right? Because there are people out there who have experienced this exact thing.
Right.
Exact thing.
Right.
Buy a motorcycle, you're out.
Right. For
I
sure.
almost did it myself.
Right.
And so the embarrassment was going out on your own and then having to come back.
It was kind of a mutual thing because he needed someone. And I was naturally, ever since I can remember 6 years old, I always fixed broken things.
Cool.
Square guns, and took stuff apart, put it back together.
All right.
So he needed another service person. So it wasn't really like, hey, Dad, please hire me. And it wasn't, he knew when I was doing part-time work for him that I was already doing better than some of the other techs that have been around there a while, just as far as, and that was his knack when he was that's what he did out of the military, was repair typewriters. So I don't know if it was just
Cool.
a niche thing, but so I went to work being a service tech full time there, and I was there for a while, and my brother-in-law, I don't know, this was a few years later, so I was super upset. Well, I'm actually skipping my most embarrassing moment. Do you want?
Yeah, I want something
now?
juicy. I want to sit on the edge of my seat here, and I'm trying to figure out what it was.
18 years old, crotch rocket, bad idea, right?
Mhm.
So we live. I don't know if anyone has been to Grand Haven out there, but it's quite a fun little strip in the summer. At least it used to be. Cars would just pack the strip, and you go up and down and do crazy things. Basically, just picking up girls and whatnot. So crotch rockets had that effect on appeal. So anyhow, me and my buddies would always race our time to Grand Haven. It's 40, 45 minutes, normal driving the speed limit. Our goal was to first cut that in half. So no problem. We got there in 20 minutes flat. But then we would try and beat that every time. So we'd go in and out of traffic. We'd see a cop sitting there clocking someone and just laugh because we're going by them at 130, 140, and they would never pull out and chase us, not once. So then the wheelies came, and then tricks on those, and yeah, you had close calls, whatever the case is. But so one night, it was actually at this point I was a year out of high school because I had went to the graduation. I was a year out of high school, and I showed up there in my motorcycle, and I left, and I was going over to a buddy's house, and cop flipped his lights on. So I'm like, all right, here we go again. I hit the gas and we go taking off, and he's chasing me now.
You're right.
I said, game on.
Okay.
So I go down the hill on Rosewood in Jenison, and it's a red light, and there's a bunch of cars there. So I go in between the two rows of them, broke my mirror off on one of the cars, other mirrors, and went out on a Chicago drive through the red light.
In a bike chase.
Now I'm in a full-fledged bike chase.
Yeah.
So
I've actually done that.
I go down, so I'm doing, 150, 155
Wow.
at this point, and they have a roadblock set up ahead. I'm like, all right, now I'm just in like video game mode. You know what I mean? It felt almost too surreal. And so I ripped through that. And then I was almost to Zealand by now. And
Did you get caught?
yes.
Oh, man.
Well, I got caught
At least you
because...
didn't crash.
Oh, I crashed.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
You're lucky.
I crashed doing about 130, they estimated, because I had hit a curve. I was going around a curve, and this is where the 18-year-old that much power come into play. My buddy had a garage that if he went around his driveway, he had a lower garage.
Wow.
So I was gonna just drive around back and be home free. Yeah. So I was going around a curve. I clearly couldn't handle that bike, and I hit the curb dead on, and hard enough that it split the front wheel wide open. I was totally unconscious. I woke up, and lights just everywhere. There's a helicopter in the road, cop cars everywhere.
Wow.
And I'm like, that was a wild dream. I totally thought I was dreaming. And slowly but surely, they started yelling and screaming at me, and throw me in, get me, downtown.
Yeah.
And they're gonna cut my helmet off. I'm like, look, guys, I really feel pretty decent. And they're like, your clothes were pretty much shredded off of you because you had flown so far through the air. They said you shouldn't even be talking right now, let alone thinking everything's fine.
Did you break anything? And what happened to you?
Didn't break a bone. I was scratched up. I had some road rash. My jeans were shredded off.
Wow.
And
Did you get in trouble with the law?
yeah, and then I went to actually, I'm like, my head actually feel handcuffed to the to the bed. I'm like,
Oh, yeah.
what's this about? And then I'm like, why is the cop standing over there? I'm like, his job's done? Oh, no. fleeing and looting is a felony. Fleeing and looting is 6 points. Accident, da. So as soon as they released me, I had a few stitches in my foot, and that was it. So they drove me to Grand Haven from Grand Rapids and threw me in jail. So there I sat, and boy, these cops were brutal on me. So I was in a holding cell.
Should they have been less brutal on you?
Well, I was in there with another guy who was completely freaking out, and I was in there with like 5 guys. But he had apparently hit his girlfriend so hard he broke his hand. So they thought I was that dude.
Oh no!
So they finally dragged me out, and I'm talking like, totally rightfully so. Not the kindest to me in the world.
Sure,
I said, "So you like to beat up women, huh?" I'm like, "That's not me." So that was the other guy. I said, "I'm the one that outran the cops." And he's like, "You're just the idiot then."
Yeah.
Got it.
So
You're the stupid one. I said, "Yeah, that's me."
That answers the question of, in hindsight, you feel like you should have left that bike at the dealership, huh?
Yeah, exactly.
All right.
Because it was nothing but, they got me for 155 and a 55, no turning on this. I lost my license for a year. 22 points on my license later. I had a few other things in there too.
And that's not to say I'm sure that anyone that goes and defies their parents buying a motorcycle is going to go out and
Right.
crash and burn, right?
Right.
The point is you have a very high propensity. Like we're all just trying to. How familiar is it when we say, "I'm just trying to do what's best for you"?
Just want to look out for you.
I
That's all there is.
You're my kid and I love you and I don't want you to get hurt.
Yep.
Right? Like every.
Mine was just don't do it.
Right. Or else.
Yeah, don't do
You
it.
know,
Or else. That was it. Yeah.
and-
I learned my else
right.
out there, right? And I remember sitting in there and I remember, going through and having to work and just pay for those attorney's fees to pay for.
Let's piggyback on that too,
Yeah.
right? Because you have all that going on,
Yeah.
and you have to find a way to make money now.
Yeah.
You have to now monetize something.
Correct.
And now I'm sure there are many
Fixing
people out
copiers on
there,
the road.
right, who now have a felony or something,
Yeah.
have spent time in jail, and they have this ball and chain, figuratively,
Correct.
on their leg that they. I keep getting told no, and it's because of this. So therefore, this is going to hold me down forever. Therefore, I have to figure out some other method aside from something legit.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So let's say you spent 10 years locked up.
Right.
Can't you still go to Target and buy stuff on sale and sell it on eBay?
There's
and
a
make
lot of
$30,000,
different ways you can do it.
$40,000, $50,000 a year. Isn't that
Correct.
possible?
It's the things like that. I had 250 hours of community service. I'm sitting here
Were
with
you
a
held
job I had
back?
to be on the road.
Did you run into people telling you no? Like, what hurdles did you run into and have to overcome now that you had that ball?
Yeah.
And did it hold you back mentally? How'd you get through that? If so, like,
Yeah.
I want to get some framework around that.
Yeah, because and again, everyone's got low spots in their life. It was a low spot in my life. It was tough. I had to figure out what I was going to do. I needed this $5.50 an hour job to survive, right?
Mm-hmm.
I had to pay attorney's fees. If I didn't pay that, dude isn't going to show up. If I didn't pay my fine, I'm going to be in jail. If I don't do my community service and show up there, I'm totally screwed. They're going to throw me back in jail. It's just when you're backed against a wall.
When your back's against the wall, you go for the things that you're familiar with first,
Yeah.
until you smarten up enough to say, I may have to do some things I'm uncomfortable with.
Correct. It's that simple. Yeah.
And so your uncomfortable was,
Find a way.
well, you went into tech support with your dad in the industry,
Yeah.
right? And so you had some background there.
Yeah.
So you weren't really uncomfortable about that side. Where was the uncomfortable side of your professional? When did that start? When you went into sales? Because that was
As
something
far
you
as
weren't.
being, yeah.
You weren't
for
the,
sure.
the quintessential salesman, right? That's what
Yep.
you were telling me.
Yep. Yeah, I was not cut out to be a salesperson. I was absolutely uncomfortable talking in front of people, and let alone trying to get them to convince them. Something I didn't have that came naturally to me was not there. Okay, the ball comes in, you swing this metal object at it, and you hit the ball out that way somewhere. How hard? Come on. Granted, they're making it sound easier than it is, but okay, A plus B equals C. But you go out and transition into sales first. I already knew that 98% of service guys don't make good salespeople. There's a reason why
They're in their lane.
Yeah.
Or in that lane.
Correct. But I had to do something, so so I transitioned over into sales and still working for my dad,
Okay.
by the way.
So then there's probably some input from him on how to do it right. Are you having to deal with him now telling you how to do, or just
he handed me these Tom Hopkins videos from the 70s.
Tom Hopkins from the 70s. I
Yep.
know nothing about him. I will search him when we leave.
It's the best.
Okay.
It's absolutely the best.
Okay.
Looking back on it. So he starts off with these videos and says, we really shouldn't smoke in a customer's office. I'm like, oh, he's going to make me watch these things. These are so outdated.
Yeah.
So anyhow, I go through them all. I get done and I'm like, all right, Dad, I'm done. He's like, all right, good. Go watch them again. Oh, gosh. So then it was, so I go watch them again. Then it was, I'm going to drop you off. Actually have another sales guy drop you off
In a neighborhood.
in a business neighborhood type thing, and you're going to go door to door. And it was just brutal. I mean, brutal.
Sure. B2B you get.
Oh,
you get
man.
out.
And you have no idea what you're saying. You have no idea what you're doing. So
Oh, you get worn out going door to door, whether
Get
it's
worn
B2B or B2C,
Yep.
and home to home. It doesn't matter.
It doesn't-
unless you
it
have
doesn't
a
matter.
different approach.
you're pounding the pavement. Correct.
Yeah.
And then I was just chasing, deals. I mean, I'd get lucky and I'd find a place that was looking for something, and I would go and do that and actually sell a piece of equipment. But then I'm like, wow, okay, so I just made $200. Sounds good, for a lot of people, but then taking account of the fact that it was 40 hours to make that $200, I'm sitting there going, all right.
Yeah.
Something's got to change here. By the time they take away taxes, by the time whatever the case is, I had a really small base. I got, I think, 14 grand a year
14. And when was this?
for base.
10.
Early 2000s.
Okay. Wow. All right.
So
So 18 grand a year. So somebody out there may be complaining that they're only making $10 an hour, right?
Right.
Wearing hockey skates, complaining about
Correct.
wanting to be a basketball player.
correct.
And on 14 grand a year, then with their back against the wall,
Yeah.
you found a way. So now so you had these goals to get into sales,
Yeah.
and I imagine starting off you had goals that you failed at. When did you embrace the idea of setting bigger goals or failing along the way, being okay with the larger?
Never
battle
really
line?
had that mindset. The mindset was, I want something I can do that I don't need a college degree for, that I can still make money at doing, and that
Cool.
is 100% reliable on me, right? I want to have my efforts, paid directly towards.
Yeah, have it
What?
measurable and accountable.
Measurable,
And,
yeah.
Sure.
I get paid X if I do X.
Right.
So that was all I really cared about, and especially the degree things. I hated school that much. So
Yeah. That's a big topic. It's a big
I'm
topic.
going to
for
debt.
just, I mean, hey,
30, 40
I was
grand.
I was listening to a podcast today. They were talking about how the banks did to us in '09. We're going to see at some point we're going to see universities and colleges do to us the same thing
Right.
in the manner that what's the percentage of these kids that are getting out with $264,000
Huge
of
amounts,
debt, and then getting a minimum wage job
Yeah.
while some other guy approves them for a $300,000 loan.
Correct.
Right? Where is that going to lead? There's
Correct.
some point, right? So,
I just didn't want to take that on and do that. So sales was, and again, when I was sitting there thinking how I'm going to get out and pay for these attorneys' fees and do this community service and do all this stuff, I mean, we don't have a choice. You don't have a choice.
How many no's were you getting? I mean, did you get the first, once you had that in your history and
Yeah.
you're looking for ways to make money, did you get the first job that you went looking for? Did the first person say yes to you, or did you get told no because of that?
Took a long, many calls. I had to write them down on 3x5 cards, and then write down when you went and what you said and everything else. You need to follow up with them, and so the first machine I ever sold, I had stopped in, and the guy said, I talked to Shamira at she was the front girl at the front desk. I said, yeah, is Terry available? And, told her who I was, where I was from, and should I ask? And she's like, yeah, he's coming right up. I'm like,
So now what do I do?
uh-oh. One, I'm clearly not this far in the tapes. Two, I don't know what I'm going to be doing here.
Right.
So he came out, and, and I guess it kind of goes back to what you say. I mean, there's just not, I didn't have anyone cheering for me, to make it sound like I was just constantly beaten down and all. I just never had anyone in my life that would say, you know what, you can do this, and you know what, you can succeed. It was just, I always, I guess, what my dad said to me always kind of came through. You have to figure out how to do it. So I guess I always had to figure out how to do it. And by doing that, you can't figure out how to do it unless you fail hundreds of times. Just hundreds of times of just, times I'm sitting there and I'm just like, how can people do this? There's no way you can make $100,000 a year, $50,000 a year. I just want to make, right now, I'll be happy at 35, and to work that amount of time and to make 35 grand was stupid. Like, I could go out and just get a $10 an hour job or $15 an hour and
Bumping and falling along the way, though. I mean, there's just
at least I was getting
value in there.
paid,
Yeah.
for what I was doing. I mean, you don't sell anything, you don't make anything. So, we'll fast forward a little bit to, so I worked for my dad for a while. I did, actually, of course, for any family business, you get into feuds, and so I walked to his office and I quit one day. And he said, "Oh, sorry to hear that."
How old were you?
Then I was
Teens,
probably
20s?
24,
Okay.
25 maybe.
For those 24-year-olds out there working for dad, not liking
Yeah.
it. So you busted in there and said, I'm out.
I'm out. I'm done.
Okay.
And so, and I always wanted, believe it or not, I always did want a little bit of special treatment from him. I always did. Still do. You know what I mean? As far as that
It's
goes.
natural.
Yeah. You just always wanted to. But, so he said, okay. There's a couple forms you have to fill out. So go take care of those. And that just wasn't what I was expecting. I thought he'd say, no, don't leave. You're great at what you do.
Mhm.
No.
See you later, bye.
See you later, bye.
Okay. What did you...
So I left. Went to real estate for a year.
Really?
Yeah, my real estate license. I worked
Okay.
for a builder, just selling his
Sure.
new homes. So
Yeah,
Did all right.
that's another conversation. I'd love to hear more about your
our
experience.
conversation, yeah, it was interesting, for sure. So
And then you got in with... Is that when you got in with the company that was acquired by Applied? After real
no,
estate?
that was still my dad's company.
Okay.
So after a year and a half of doing real estate, definitely interesting market. My dad's company, he was doing well at it, but he had gone through a handful of, employees and stuff like that. And we were just sitting down one day and basically he asked if I want to come back. And I said, no, I'm doing really good where I'm at now. And,
Did you expect him to ever ask you that?
no. And that was it. That was a bone right there.
Sure.
So,
But you know now why he did it. I'm guessing
yes.
you went and... It sounds like you went and did right by yourself, which is really all we want out of our children. Is that
Right. Yeah, probably right.
Because that would sounds like the guy like that. The only thing that would compel him to say come back is A, he needs you a little bit, and B, he's in that place where you've done something to earn merit, right?
Right,
You've done
right.
some merit there.
It's funny you say that because I never really thought about that. But yeah, you're actually probably 100% right because
He would have never asked you back if you didn't do something to be true to yourself.
Never even thought about
and
that.
Figure it all out.
yeah, probably
Which
right.
really, I know all my mom ever wanted me to do
Yep.
was figure it out
Yeah,
and do right by me.
yeah, that's probably 100% right.
Gives me some sleep at night.
Yeah.
So was there any part of your life when you realized the I told you so of one day you'll understand? I'm working so much because I want to provide for you.
Haven't
I'm
had
telling
that
you to
time
stay
yet.
out of trouble. You still, well, it wasn't like a minute after you brought your first kid home. You're like, oh my gosh, Dad, I love you so much. I'm so sorry. I said it on my last episode too because it was.
I'll tell you one more really important spot here. So I went back to work for him, and went another 5 years, 6 years, whatever the case was. Had arguments, had whatever. I just stuck my nose down to my job.
Stuck your nose down and did your job.
Yeah.
For him.
Yep.
How many hours a week?
Probably 55, 60.
Okay. So you weren't bowling twice a week, going to the bars with a buddy
No.
once or twice a week,
No.
watching
If I didn't
movies
check in by the time, if it was 4:55, I still couldn't leave. I had to be at the office. I had to be out of the office at 8:30, and I'd be
Right.
back at the office at 4:30.
Okay.
And if I wasn't, there'd be price.
You were off for the day.
Yeah.
And unpaid.
For sure. It was that crystal clear. They have nothing to do here. I'm literally caught up in everything. Yeah, is it 5 o'clock yet? It's 5 to 5, and it's Christmas Eve. You think I can? No. Okay.
How do you feel about that now?
I think it's ridiculous and stupid.
Okay. Do you? Okay.
I think it's absolutely obnoxious.
No crap.
Yeah, I think it's the most ridiculous thing. I told you, I'll tell you honestly, 100% of what I feel.
That's okay.
Yep.
Respect. I like it.
So a handful of years, later.
Aren't you managing some people?
No.
Okay.
He wants me to do all the. I always do all the work of it.
Here.
Well, so he comes up to me. I don't
I
know,
wonder why you wouldn't be cool with that rule if you're managing people here.
because I'll answer that one in a second because that's good. Because I'm all about working smarter
Not harder.
and not harder.
Okay.
If you can produce
And get the job done.
and get the job done in 10 hours a week.
So there's the incentive.
That's it.
There's maybe the self-managing system of it all.
Yeah.
Right.
Because I want to teach people how to fish. I don't want to teach them, through rules and through regulations of how to do your job.
Okay.
If your stuff is done now, don't get me wrong. You leave, and I go through
And
checking
something's
some of
left
these orders.
unchecked.
Yeah, if this order's clearly a hot mess.
Yeah.
I'm gonna call you back and have you come back in.
All right.
So I get a call from him, and he's like, "Hey, you have to sit down and talk to this guy." And I said, "Okay." He's like, "Yeah, he's gonna interview you." I'm like, "What are you talking about?" And he's like, "Sold the company today." I said, "Oh, what are you talking about?" He's like, "Yeah, I sold the company today. I sold it to Applied Imaging."
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you're gonna have to go.
So is your dad's company that Applied purchased?
Yes.
Oh.
So I had no idea, And he's like, "You have to go interview over there." I said, "Interview?" I says, "I don't have a job." He's like, "Well, you have to go through the process, I'm sure it'll be okay."
Were there some familiar pangs and back when you weren't helped with
Like,
college
here we
and
go
not weren't
again.
helped with the car?
Oh, for sure. So now this broke the camel's back, right? I was just livid.
Is there a general word you would look back on and give and
Yeah,
use
just do a
to-
long beat
to-
here real quick, Jeff.
Yeah. So the word I think of, and I think
Yeah.
is entitlement. I think it's the brother of chaos.
For sure.
And I'm afraid for the amount of it that exists. I mean, it's so
Same
natural
amount of
for us to-
entitlement now.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah.
I felt like out of all the times I went out of my way, granted, you can look at, yes, he gave me a job, he would have fired me if I wasn't, doing a good job.
Rightfully so.
Right.
100%.
Without a doubt. So, and then, I always, my whole life wanted, obviously, that approval, or that little bit of, hey, good job, on that. Never got it. Never have. Never will. Never will because he's diagnosed with Alzheimer's and he
Sorry.
recognizes me. But, so, and that's fine. And I accept all that. But I also look back when I got here, when I had an interview with John, I was like, "John, you know what? I really don't care." I showed up to my interview with him I was going camping. I was wearing sandals, shorts, and a t-shirt. And I was kind of a jerk to my new owner. So, told him I was going to be checking elsewhere and whatever the case is. But long story short, ended up coming over here. And I saw, I was selling $350,000 a year. I was like, that's impossible. There's guys selling $1 million here a year.
How am I ever going to get to
How is that even possible? So then here I thought,
And there's a bunch of limiting beliefs that
Oh.
you had, and I'm sure others around. Did you have any? Is there a chance that
The
maybe
whole-
some loved ones around you were telling you you couldn't get here or limit? I mean, did you have any of that? Because it's common.
No, because I'm not really very open with talking about
Okay,
stuff
fair
like
enough.
that.
Okay.
I'm just like, wow, there's a lot of, guys are putting on big numbers there. And,
Yeah,
my
try-
wife was supportive. She said, oh, you'll do it. You'll do just fine.
Oh, great. Well, there's a good
You know what I mean?
example, right?
That is a
she
good
was
example.
supportive.
She's
Awesome.
always been supportive.
Okay.
But it's funny because I always wanted it for my dad, right? That was always going to be the one that was most impactful. So that was 9 years ago now. And I had to go back to the drawing board, take the etch a sketch out, everything I had learned, and erase it all and try and refigure out the game. So that's what I did. So I went back and I refigured out the game. I went and tried to talk to people that were doing the $1 million, try and pick up on things from them.
So get with those that are doing what you wanted to do.
Yeah, it was really that simple. I don't want to spend my time, with the guys that have been here 10 years and we're selling $300,000. That just wasn't,
Yeah.
so
I like
look at that.
one of the things I like to say to people when with my experience with years ago with addiction and with everything that comes with that whole world is
Right.
no matter what it is you're trying to get out of and into something else, you have to change your nouns, your persons,
Right.
places, and things.
Right.
And it sounds like you kind of picked up on that.
That's a good point on
not
that. I like
realizing
that.
it.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah. I mean, so
Well, so lately, thanks for sharing all that. Lately, I've really paid attention to something, a few things that a guy out there says a lot about, and I've said his name before, Gary Vee. He said recently, and it makes sense. There will be, due to virtual reality, in 100 years,
right.
right? So your great granddaughter is going to be sitting right here in this room with us. Matter of fact, she's sitting in this room with us right now.
Yeah.
In a pod in her apartment.
Right.
Right. What would you say to your great granddaughter sitting right here next to you? What's one of the most important things that you would say to her about what's going to come in her life and how to fight through it? So that's the first part of the question about her.
Right.
That's the second part of the question. First, what would you say to yourself in 50 years about what to do for the next 50? You're right there. That's you.
You are assuming I'm going to be living 50 years.
How old are you?
38.
38.
Yeah.
You still have 65 years to go. Because by the time we're 100, people will be living to their 120, 130.
Fair point. So, what I would say to myself in 50 years?
Yeah, you're sitting right there.
I would say, you could have queued me up on this. Let me think about this for a minute. That's why I like this. It's so real and raw. But I would say find 5 people and help push them towards their goals. That's what I would
Be
say.
a conduit for 5 people.
Yeah. My great granddaughter, I'd say figure it out.
How is she
Take
going?
off of that.
How's she going to fail forward? How does she fail forward?
The hardest part for me now is clearly with my kids now, great granddaughter. I mean, I look at that. I so badly want to do the opposite and grab them and pull them along and get rid of all the obstacles in the way.
Make it easy.
Make it easy. But that doesn't teach them. It won't teach you how to survive when I can't be there all the time, right? I can't be there to guide you through life because you'll end up being a spoiled brat. Much as you realize
Real
that.
talk. Right?
You'll realize that.
Real talk. That's awesome.
Yes, there's no way I can do that, even though that is extremely hard not to do that. Brandon, one more thing I was thinking about too is when we talked about all these stories and history and how you got over some of these issues in your life.
Mine? Yeah.
And mine.
Yeah,
It's
sure.
almost, almost the same because we all have problems in our life that we have to hurdle. And one thing that is so key is if you've never overdrafted your account, if you've never paid your bills or had all your bills come in and had $1.80 left in your account, then you've never lived life. Because, I think a lot of times people are embarrassed to say that. They're embarrassed to say, oh, I have to go get counseling, because I have problems. brother, we're all in the same spot. I guarantee you talk to every person that has made their first million, and they've been bankrupt many times. So it's important to realize that it's not, you can be chasing this thing of winning the lotto or, this instant gratification. It's not about instantly climbing that mountain. It's about taking the small steps. Take your $1.80 and see if you can turn it into $3.60, and building on it from there. But you have to have that drive and persistence to get to that spot. And I think that's what truly makes a difference, because I've been there. I totally know what it means not to have enough money to pay your bills for a month. But hey, somehow we made it here, right?
Right.
And somehow, and I look back, of course, we will figure out a way, because that's what we have to do. So, you're not alone, and move on.
Yeah. The truth is, at the end of the day, guys, when you argue for your limitations, you get to keep them.
Right?
Right? Cool. And when it comes to business, personal, anything you do, right, it's going to be our immediate selves. They're going to sabotage our future selves. Right? And our future selves aren't going to be as productive and as unbusy as we think when we say, I'll take care of that later.
Yeah.
Right? So there's some sabotage on both sides.
Absolutely.
Right? And so what you tolerate business-wise or personally is your standard.
Correct.
What is your standard? What you tolerate is your standard. And when you argue for your limitations, you get to keep them. Man, thank you. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So you are the first person I've asked that question to, and in 10 years, that's going to be some really cool stuff. Like people are we're going to set a trend here.
That's good.
With you talking to your VR.
Right.
Thank you. All right. Hey, so any questions about me? I called. So this is what I did. I called, and we're going to wrap it up. I reached out to ask you if you would be willing to meet with me and talk a little bit about sharing your life, and because it's important to me, as corny as it sounds. Like, so let me give you some context. Jared is now, like, I keep having this figure that you're pulling down like over $500,000 a year. Like, let's not be out there with his money. And I can tell you, my man is doing hot, okay? He's doing great by many others' terms. Are you done? Is there another level you'll break through?
Last year I set another company record, which is fine, and that's good. But I feel sometimes that my focus is shifting a little bit, because once you go in and you do that, my goal now is not necessarily just all these numbers. So my goal is I want to get into a place that I want to land an account that is just the biggest account we have.
I thought you did.
I did.
Frankly.
Yeah.
At any rate,
I'm more targeted.
you're
I'm
not
like,
done.
I want this account.
Like, there's more for you. Like,
Yeah.
You're not complacent. Like even where you are.
Yes.
There's still more for you.
Yeah, because there's always. I mean,
Awesome.
you're always reaching to survive more, and do more. But I think, money doesn't make you happy, right? Money doesn't, yes, it buys things and yes, it does more. But at the end of the day, it's that feeling of succeeding. And when you look back and go, wow, I told you I was doing $350,000 a year, and people were doing $1 million here. So that was 9 years ago. I did $3.5 million last year in revenue, and that's what a lot of our single teams in. It's not to say that, like I said, I'm not a bright guy by any means, but if you learn and figure out the game and you do right by people, they want to buy from you. You can't help it.
What I get from you, and I've gotten since the beginning, when your intent is 100% on, your content can be off.
Correct. Totally agree.
Right? If your content is perfect,
Yeah.
scripted, perfect, everything, you have it memorized, and if your content is perfect and your intent is off, people see it.
Absolutely.
So I think what I've seen in
Bleeds
you
out
from the
everything.
beginning, yeah.
Yeah. 100% right.
If there was a business that you could do aside from selling, solution software, printer solutions,
Right.
if there was any sort of market or anything out there that you could have your own business in, what would it be? Would you make surfboards? Would you? What would
Oh,
that
I
be?
see what you're saying. I thought you meant if I were to sell the. Yeah, I'm sorry.
All right.
So, I would like to. I watch Shark Tank all the time, right?
I love it.
So,
I have photos with Barbara Corcoran.
yeah, right. I love every bit about Shark Tank. So one of two things. One, I would like to, and I do have a handful of ideas that I would do.
Okay.
And two, I love going on mission trips to third world countries. So I do that
Okay.
once a year. And I would love to be able to do that.
So or maybe some sort of a nonprofit
Long-term.
or something.
Yeah.
So okay.
Yeah.
All right. And who is the one person on the planet you would love to team up with and do something like that with? If you were to have a partner in business doing this.
Yeah. I'd have to say one of the guys that got me on my first mission trip.
Okay.
Scott Closter. He left a high-end
Okay.
job to go to full-time doing
All right.
this and serving other people.
Well,
I admire
then,
that.
my challenge to you, my desire is I'm going to stay in touch. We're going to have a
Yeah,
group
for
here.
sure.
We're going to get together.
For sure.
I'm going to ask you about that.
Yeah.
If you were to put a timeline on it, this is the coach in me.
Right.
If you were to put a timeline on it, I'm going to challenge you to talk to him
Yeah.
about that seed.
Right.
What do you want to say? 60 days, 30 days, 2 weeks? When is it that you'd like to have a commitment to
I
say
think
something? to him?
2022 would probably be fair. I mean, it's 2018 already, so.
When would you have it? So another 4 years.
No.
When will you say something to him?
I see him quite often,
Plant a
so.
seed.
Yeah.
Next week?
I'd say 2 weeks is more than fair.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Cool. Do it.
I need to,
All right.
and I should.
I appreciate it. Thank you so
You
much.
gonna forget about this, or is it on tape?
No,
Yeah.
we got it. We got it. So, guys, ending up, he shared a really funny story with me. So, listen, be willing to do now. Right, the term I really think back to is be willing to be too school for cool. Right, it's the kids that were doing the nerding out. Right, like you didn't like math. How much is numbers playing in your life daily? It's every day, right?
Heavily.
So it had it's the ones that were too school for cool, and some that were cool. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
As soon as we realize that 30,000 foot view of the world, and we can focus on things, it gives you an ability to prepare and be ready for that tap on the shoulder. I like to say, and
Yeah.
I get from Diane Griffin. So that tap on the shoulder recently for you was Tesla.
Right.
All right, so guys, at one point you had $3 or something in your world.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
I
There
mean,
was something terrible going on, right? It was tough. You had a big uphill battle in front of you. And just recently, by way of grit, now he was able to. I think, as the story goes, when the new Tesla came out, he was on the waiting list for it. It came out, he got it, and then he decided to sell it. And shortly thereafter, right, immediately after you get it, really, right?
yeah, I picked it up Friday, and Saturday I listed it.
And made how much in a number of hours? In less hours, right? So I mean, just insane. Right?
Yeah,
So turn a profit of
25 grand.
25 grand in
24 hours. Call it. I mean,
right.
um,
Hey, so the moral of the story: if you have $1 right now, you can buy a Tesla and flip it for 25 G's in 10 years. People grossly underestimate what they can do in 5 years and grossly overestimate what they can do in 1 year. This has been How to Fail Forward. Thank you for tuning in. We had a great, thank you. It was an awesome conversation.
Fantastic.
This just went on for an hour and a half almost. So,
Sure enough.
guys, we're going to be pulling bits and pieces from this time together to share through our social media platforms. Please do us a favor. If you like this, please share it, comment on this, give us some feedback. If there's something we should have done differently, we should be sitting differently, You know what I mean? Whatever you feel like we could do better, or if there's some questions that you'd like to hear us ask on our next episode, please let me know. I appreciate it. Awesome.
Thank you.
Great times.